Yo, what is going on, guys? This is episode 4 of Ontap. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me make sure I'm online here. Bear with me 1 second here. This is episode 4 of Ontap. And we're live. And what we do here is we talk sports. We run the gamut, catch you up on the week's sports that you might have missed, topics that I might have not covered, haven't had the chance to cover. You could see all my other videos down below. Try to post regularly about news and highlights and goings on in the sports world. Sometimes you're not able to get to all of it. So this is kind of my way of getting through some of the topics that I wanted to cover and didn't have a chance to cover. This is not weekly. This is maybe every once in a while, every other week. So it's best if you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and that way you're in tune with what's going on with the channel. Where do we begin? I think a good place to begin is with NFL week number 9. And at week 9, man, the NFL season is just flying by. You know, being a Dolphin fan, I'm actually, pretty satisfied so far with the season. Satisfied. But let's go into some of the previews. Get yourself set up for week 9 in the NFL. Giants versus the Washington football team. Giants at the Washington football team. Washington's 25-3 win over the Cowboys back in week 7 came after the team lost 5 in a row under first-year coach Ron Rivera, man, what has he been going through? It's insane, and he still is on the sideline. He's been through a lot. That man is, I think, an inspiration to the football team, an inspiration to the world. Quite honestly, after what he's been through, and the Giants with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, he got one thing that is for certain, and I'm not no NFL expert, but you won't be long for the league if you create turnovers, if you turn the ball over, and that is something definitely that he has to work on. But, so going back to that 5-game span, saw Washington being outscored by a combined 64 points. For Washington to beat that team, and the Cowboys suggests to me, anyway, that there is that there is a whole lot of problems with the Cowboys going on, but that's neither here or there. As for the Giants, the only win of the season came against this very same Washington team, which they beat them just barely by the score of 2019. And remember, that was the game where it it included Rivera opting to go for the win on a 2-point conversion in the final seconds. That was that game. The Giants then lost in a narrow fashion Monday night to Tampa Bay, thanks to another, what wasn't a, good performance by Daniel Jones. Given how close the matchup was, but prior, you expect another close game. Look at the Ravens versus the Colts, and I'm not going to go through every game, just kind of games that I just wanted to highlight. Look at Ravens versus the Colts. I think it's a legit under-the-radar, good type of game between two AFC contenders. It's led by Lamar Jackson. Made a video about Lamar Jackson there. The Ravens are 5-2 on the season after Week 8's loss to the Steelers. They recently added reinforcements in that of Yannick Ngakoue, Mr. Ngakoue, and Dez Bryant, who I also made that Dez Bryant video. I will share it with you guys as well. I think for one of our timeouts here. Phil Rivers and the Colts. It's more about their elite defense more than anything. Rivers, he's older. You could say that he has struggled to an extent in Phil Rivers. 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. In his first season in Indy. But, you factor all of that, you're 5-2. 5-2. And they have a blowout Week 8 win over the Lions. They rank 4th in scoring defense, so keep that in mind. But, when you look at this game, can you honestly expect this Colt offense to keep up with the Raven offense? But look at that game. They always say pitching always beats good hitting. Could a good defense beat a good offense? That's obviously to be determined, to be reviewed, to be looked at. Where else can we go here? Look at Panthers at the Chiefs, right? It's interesting when you take a look at the defending Chiefs. They sit at 7-1 on this season, averaging more than 3 points per game than they did last season. So they're averaging three more points per game than they did last season, right? Even this factor, right? Even when you factor this, the word on the street, what a lot of people are saying is that they still don't consider them to be the favorites in the AFC. Kind of laughable, but that's what people are saying out there. When you look at that, Patrick Mahomes, 21 touchdowns, 1 interception, damn good elite quarterback. On top of his game, quarterback. Okay, you have that rookie running back in Hilaire, among the NFL's top rushers. Kansas City ranks in the top 10 in strong defense. Listen, despite being impressive very early, the Panthers have lost 3 consecutive. The unproven defense, could be eaten apart. Now, Teddy Bridgewater, impressive. They were saying Teddy Bridgewater would be the heir apparent to Drew Brees. As impressive, as good as Teddy Bridgewater has been this year, make no mistake about it, he is not he does not have the weapons to compete with Pat Mahomes. Seahawks versus the Bills. I think this is going to be an interesting, high-scoring game. Seattle heads into Week 9 averaging a league-best 34.2 points per game. Well, I mean, what more can you say? It's high. Russell Wilson, I think MVP of this year. He had a 3-interception performance in Week 7. Still an MVP though. He showed you that that he is an MVP. We had a 4-touchdown performance against the 49ers in Week 8. One thing to be alarmed about: Seattle is giving up an average of 28 points per game. 28 points per game. Buffalo on the flip side, the Buffalo Bills. Take a look at the Buffalo Bills, will you? They had a top 10 scoring defense last season. The Bills right now north of 25 points per game. Not a great look if you're supposedly a defense-minded head coach in Sean McDermott. Okay? On the flip side, Buffalo's offense has allowed the team to start 6-2. That, I think, it has potential to be week of the game. Now, while we regroup here, we'll kind of merge into baseball for you guys. In case you have not heard my thoughts on Des Bryant, I want to share that with you. I'll pull it up here for you guys right now. And again, I do welcome you to subscribe. It's free. Hit the notification bell. I'm gonna share with you what I thought about Des Bryant with the Baltimore Ravens. We'll then jump into some baseball news. Stay tuned. Hold on. So Des Bryant, now a member of Baltimore Ravens. Join your team. Not a big deal or even a main roster deal at this point. Was on the practice squad. Practice squad edition. And it's a tryout of sorts. He's going to get a chance to work from the ground up. If he makes it, win for both sides. Team does. If he does not a huge deficit to overcome. Remember what happened when last time you signed Bolden. Low risk, high reward due to his injury history, but him being a solid possession wide receiver opens up your offense with Andrews and can allow Hollywood to take the top off the defenses, not to mention your run game. He will allow one-on-one coverages now, and that'll be something beautiful if done right, the right way. Listen, and I think you kind of put him on the practice squad just to get a feel of his attitude and durability before paying him, $53, which is a smart move, yet cautious move. You have to reserve judgment, right? He's got a ton of talent too. I think someone's going to have to keep him in check. I think he has been humbled, though. Could Des Bryant still be a number 2 wide receiver? and you desperately need a playmaker. He might not be a top 5 receiver anymore, but he could be a big boost if you keep his attitude in check. Right, so listen, secure hands, good routes. Only 31. Triple S with 37 was playing with opposing corners like they were schoolyard kids. Listen, he hasn't played in 2 years. His body hasn't gone through the rigors of an NFL season. Win-win. Again, win-win. Football as well. And there you go, ladies and gerbils. Gave you my quick thoughts there on Des Bryant signing with Baltimore Ravens. It's, Des Bryant's still a young cat at 31 years old. I know he has a little wear and tear on him, but still, you know how some of these athletes are freak athletes. I think he has potential to kind of show the league what he could do still. So don't be surprised if you hear that name, Des Bryant, on the Ravens. Now, going back, jumping into baseball. I see it now. I see it here from the house. I see Citi Field, the smoke. Kind of like when a new pope is elected, you have that white smoke that goes through the air. Do I see smoke coming from Citi Field just a few miles away? A mere 30 miles away here. No, wait, is it 30? About maybe 20 miles away from here. That orange, blue, and yellow smoke. No, not yellow smoke. That orange and blue smoke. It's Christmas time. Christmas time for you Met fans. Christmas time. A record billion, if I'm not mistaken, and it's official. A record $2.4 billion. Mr. Stevie Cohen. Mr. Stevie Cohen. Whew. That's a pretty penny. Pretty damn penny. And, when you look at the Wilpons, as the sale was official today, when you look at the Wilpons as your owners here, I don't know. Did they really? Were they fans of the team? Did they love the team? Were they willing to go above and beyond to spend for your team to make this team the best? Did they have the absolute best interest of the team in mind at all times? Did they have that in their best interest? And I think, the beginning of the end, for the Wilpons, what kind of led them into selling this team is when, Citi Field was when it was built. That right there cost them It was a financial drain. It turned out to be a financial drain. Cost them a ton of money. You know, Madoff, if you want to use that. You know, how were they involved? Were they involved? Weren't they involved? That might have played a part as well. But that was the beginning of the end, I think. And with this team, it's to me, you know, they were looking at it as a business, right? Every owner looks at it as a business, but were they willing to go above and beyond for this team? I don't think so. I think they were willing to go to a point, but it always felt like they were always looking to kind of do things just to show you that hey, look, we tried. But were they really ever really putting their best foot forward? You know, you get what I mean? For example, you know, when you look at some of the Met free agents that have come in here the last couple of years, these were all free agents that were, you might argue, no longer, that were just past their prime. You know, that you got them on a relative cheap deal. So you always got the lower echelon free agents. Lower echelon free agents. With Stevie Cohen, just by what he did today, take that for example, not even, he basically he cleaned house today. As soon as that sale was official, he cleaned house. Didn't even waste time. Didn't even waste a minute. Clean house. And you know, one of the person that is gone now. This is we say goodbye to Brodie Van Wagenen. Brodie Van Wagenen is leaving the team after a year. Now, I think what you're going to remember Brodie Van Wagenen for most, if you're a Met fan, that trade, the Edwin Diaz Robinson Cano deal. Listen, not overall after the first year for the Mets, Brodie Van Wagenen, who was, you know, wasn't no major league experience as far as front office goes. And then, you know, I guess what Mets management maybe was trying to think outside the box. So you hire a guy that was a former a player agent to be a GM. Okay, so what you got to remember, if you're basing it on here, is the Edwin Diaz and Robinson Cano deal. Okay, for Brodie. They're gone. Everyone is gone. Brodie is one of them. And you get it. Even if you're a Brodie fan, I think you would have to agree with me. You get it why Brodie was let go is because Scone wants to bring in his new guys here. Think about it. You know, this is what I want to tell you about the the Cano, Edwin Diaz. It's just not a great legacy for Brodie Van Wagenen. Okay. Listen now, Edwin Diaz, did show some signs of life in 2020. Some signs. Okay. Now let me jump over that. Okay. Let's say if you're saying to yourself, listen, Edwin Diaz, forget Edwin Diaz, let it go. He's still young. You got Edwin Diaz, and Robinson Cano was someone that you had to take on as well. Okay, all right. If you want to give Brodie the benefit of the doubt, then I think what you're left with, right, what you're left with for the legacy of Brodie Van Wagenen is you're left with perhaps choosing Stroman over Wheeler, and the Mets may have neither in 2021. Edwin Diaz, okay, is young. If he proves 2019 is an aberration, it could still have potentially this have been a huge get for the New York Mets. And listen, we know that few teams rather have long-term stability in the ninth. But a guy who makes games 8 innings with consistency is a heck of an asset. Listen, if Kelenic is an average major league contributor or better, it's an awful deal, right? Cano, that portion, that Cano portion here, Cano contract is still underwater. And, and relief pitchers, you might say, are not as valuable, as solid major league position players with lots of team control. If Kelenic busts, then it, sure worked out for the Mets, you might say, but the process was still bad. Listen, you might look at the flip side there. If Kelenic, you could also say if Kelenic is good, but Cano's being, that Cano deal being underwater might not be that big of a deal. Might not affect their finances, and his performance this year, you can make the argument Cano it wasn't as bad as Listen, Cano he still has some pop in there, right? So he did show some lives this year. Now, but when you think about it here too, if you're analyzing this deal, okay, guys like Bruce, guys like Bruce, like Jay Bruce and Swarzak, were only under contract for 2 years, and Cano was under contract for 5 years at the time of the trade. Ideally, you don't want to be paying a middle infielder, till he's 42 years old. Instead of paying Cano $16 million for 5 years, maybe you much rather have, use that money to resign Wheeler. Think about it. That's hustling backwards. You also lost, I think the kid's name was Justin Dunn in that Seattle trade, and a young pitcher who could have been your 4 for 5 starter for years. He's already, I think, Dunn, if I'm not mistaken, is already in the Mariners rotation. Hey, maybe, in the National League, I think it's in play already, or might be, or it's up for debate. Listen, Cano might be able to play a little bit longer in the National League. If in fact there is a DH in the NL. So it's Christmas Day. Christmas Day for you Met fans. Definitely a great day. There is some Justin Turner news out of the Dodgers. Remember when he did not wear his mask during the World Series after he had tested positive for COVID? That I want to get into with you, and we're talking baseball here. Did you take some time to subscribe, hit the notification bell on my channel yet? If you haven't done so, I am telling you to do it. It would mean a lot to me. Let's see if I could tell you, show you a video about what I initially thought of Brodie Van Wagen signing here. If I have that video. I do not. Do have another video though that I do want to share with you. And that video will be just going over the what should I leave you with? All right, I think this is pretty good here. Let's leave you with a video talking about Derrick Henry receiving his contract extension earlier in this year. Hold tight, guys, while we regroup, and we'll be talking about Justin Turner. And Tannehill on. Catch you guys up here. This is talking about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry and the Titans here. The word was last week that the Titans and Derrick Henry signing a 4-year, $50 million contract that includes $25.5 million guarantee. So in one off season, the Titans keep both Henry and Ryan Tannehill on long-term deals. I don't know if Tannehill gets you guys excited. Coming from former a Dolphin fan and former quarterback for the Dolphins and Tannehill. But I could even argue that this might be a steal for the Titans. $12.5 million a season for a running back that could be maybe top 5 in the running, the top 5 running back in the NFL. Especially with that stacked offensive line and a quarterback in Tannehill who really isn't, in my honest opinion, good enough to win unless he's got a bulldozer in the backfield. Or in other words, a stacked box to stop the run, which gives you more wide receivers one-on-one. He easily could have maybe gotten, a ridiculous amount of money. I don't know about that. But I still think this is a great deal for them. And now they're another team that the Patriots maybe have to worry about. Because, listen, I'm sorry, until otherwise passed down, until an edict is written, I think the Patriots, just based on the history, are still the team to beat in the AFC. Vrabel, it seems like the man could coach. Listen, Tannehill, I'm just saying he's really nothing special. I liked him enough. I felt bad for the dude, but again, the hype that he was this great quarterback in Miami, and that Miami really saw him really more than what he really is, it's kind of insane to me. And listen, let's not get it twisted. You have Henry there in the backfield, which is going to make Tannehill's life a whole lot easier. Maybe him, look, that duo of him and A.J. Brown, underrated. Now, let's be honest, let's keep it real. Henry is, right now, he is kind of worthless in the passing game. He was taken out, remember, in the end of the playoffs because of that reason. Listen, but would he have gotten insane money on the open backfield? Maybe, but listen, perhaps. All it takes really is just one team that really believes can carry them, or a couple of teams to get in the bidding war on the open market to raise his price, right? You have to be mindful of that. But in recent history, you have seen more and more elite running backs kind of fail to get the compensation that their skills deserve, or they overestimate how many teams will be interested. Gordon sat out expecting to get a long-term deal. Instead, they let him walk, and he signs for peanuts. Bell sat out the whole year and signed for less than what Pittsburgh had offered him. After a total lack of interest in free agency. McCaffrey, Elliott, Gurley all got big deals, but the Rams were mocked for doing it and are eating a lot of money for him to be off the team. So you look at instances like that, make you wonder, make you second guess perhaps what would have happened with Derrick Henry. But nonetheless, make no mistake about it, Derrick Henry is very valuable for the Titans, and he is on board football as well. What's going on, guys? I'm back. So yeah, that was some of my thoughts on Derrick Henry signing his contract extension. Again, see what you're missing. You're welcome to subscribe. That way you're not missing anything further. Alex Cora. Let's talk about Alex Cora first, and then we'll jump back into Justin Turner. Alex Cora, rehired manager of the Boston Red Sox. So the Red Sox are like, hey, Alex, you remember that time you got caught cheating and had to take a 1-year vacation? Yeah, cool. So do we so do we, but we were still gonna hire you. So yeah, don't do that again, okay? Just don't do that again, Mr. Cora. uh, Look, in all due seriousness, Cora cheated once. Okay, not saying that's a good thing, not saying that's excusable, but Cora cheated once. The commissioner investigated the 2018 Red Sox for months. Emails, video, people were interviewed multiple times. And not one incident of cheating could be documented. Not one. Not one. There was no proof that even a single at-bat was affected. Major League Baseball could only conclude that the Red Sox may have benefited and potentially benefited from, Wagen's theorized actions, while also saying, they largely do not have direct evidence that the Red Sox participated in anything. Might say that JD Martinez was correct when he said they didn't find anything in Boston. Listen, I could see the point of view that Cora should not be hired anytime soon because he cheated in Houston. I could also see the point of view that he did nothing wrong in Boston, so it's okay to rehire him. Fact of the matter is, somebody is going to hire Cora eventually, and might say that the young players really want him. Cora has a bombshell, waiting in his back pocket about the whole issue in Houston. I truly believe that. While there's no question that Cora's, he was involved in the quote-unquote bang the drum slowly scandal, there's also no question that Houston threw him under the bus, and Houston and they tried to pin the whole entire thing under Cora because he had already left the team. Cora has the ability, I think, to bring he has that ability to bring the entire Astros organization to its knees. I think he could definitely do that. He could bring that organization to its knees, but he has yet to play that card out of respect to Major League Baseball. Probably a secret agreement with Manfred as well. Who knows? If the Red Sox would have not rehired Cora, if he was the mastermind of the Houston cheating scandal, there you go. Right? He has yet to play that card out of respect for Major League Baseball, and probably a secret agreement with Manfred as well. I could tell you this, though, right? The Red Sox would have not rehired Cora, if he was the mastermind of the Houston cheating scandal. I'm probably, willing to bet um, that the owners now know the true story of what happened in Houston and how Cora was merely a pawn in the whole scheme, you might argue. That's the only way he gets rehired by a very smart company. That's a very smart company that he currently works for. Yes, they know they'll take a PR hit over the hire, but they also know the truth about what really happened in Houston. So I think that's a very good. That's a signer that I'm sure you've seen coming in regards to Alex Cora coming to the Boston Red Sox. As we regroup here, going into um, Justin Turner, I want to share another video with you here, guys. And going to talk a little bit about Joe Morgan in this next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Be right back. Joe, there's Pete, Johnny Bench, and then welcome to another edition from Bleachers Sports Shows. Me, your buddy, your pal, your amigo, your compadre, Tom, and I please implore you to hit the subscribe button, or is it up there? But hit the notification bell as well as we talk a little bit about baseball here today. We're talking about the passing of Joe Morgan. Johnny, there's Joe, there's Pete, Johnny Bench, and then the outstanding skipper in Sparky Anderson. And Joe Morgan will always be remembered for being part of that dynasty that they had in the 1970s. Joe Morgan, huge part of that big red machine, that success. Sparky was a winner. Players loved playing for him. That's why he was a Hall of Fame coach. Yeah, Bobby Cox, obviously from the Braves, has a lot of similarities. Just like Sparky Anderson. I remember seeing, looking at a tape. Okay. Old Busch Stadium, where he played for the Phillies. He scored the only run in an 11-inning game. He had a double off Bruce Sutter and scored. In that game, you got 6 Hall of Famers in that game, right? Just watching that game, you had Morgan, Ozzie, Smith, Sutter, Carlton, Tony Perez, and Rose. But the earliest recollection I have was, being that I'm born, in 81, the earliest recollection that I have was with Sunday Night Baseball. They complemented each other. Joe Morgan and John Miller, they complemented each other, I think. John with the play-by-play and Joe with the analysis. I know Joe could be a little bit biased, but he wasn't this horrible homer as some people make him out to be, right? I miss Joe and John actually in their stories. The Sunday Night Booth hasn't really been nowhere as near as good as since they left. I will tell you this. I don't think there's a player, though, that Joe Morgan despised as much as Ryan Sandberg. And I think if you remember why Joe Morgan wasn't a big fan of Ryan Sandberg is because unfortunately Sandberg now broke his record for home runs by a second baseman. Competitive, alpha male mentality. And I don't think he was a fan of Wade Boggs either. Every time a pitcher came in high and tight on a hitter, Johnny Miller's comment was always, and there was the high hard one. There was a classic Joe Morgan moment, and it goes. Let me read it to you. Norm Miller was doing the broadcast. Was doing the broadcast bit in the fourth inning when Joe Morgan came back to the dugout after missing a big curveball for strike 3. Right, Joe Morgan, may I have a word with you? Sure, Norm. How's it going? Fine, Joe. Fine. We wanted to ask you about that pitch you missed. What was it? Norm, that was a motherfucking curve. Can you tell our listeners, Joe, what's the difference between a regular curve and a motherfucking curve? Well, Norm, your regular curve has a lot of spin on it, and you can recognize it real early. It breaks down a little bit and out. Now, your motherfucker, that's different. It comes in harder, looks like a fastball, then all of a sudden it rolls off the top of the table, and before you know it, it's motherfucking strike 3. Thank you very much, Joe Morgan. Classic interview. Classic interview. Think about this too. Joe Morgan, before I leave you, Joe Morgan had 4 seasons with at least 50 extra base hits. Let me say it again. Joe Morgan had 4 seasons with at least 50 extra base hits, 50 stolen bases, and 100 bases on balls. The rest of players in Major League Baseball history combined have 0. Obvious statement, really a great player. And I knew about the walks because he's 5th all time in bases on balls. And I knew he stole bases, but I didn't know he had that much extra base power. Phenomenal. And I couldn't even believe that Rickey Henderson, you guys know Rickey Henderson, didn't do this. Had to look it up. He came very close, though. Multiple years, but never really quite did make it. Once had it, but fell short with 99 base on balls. Joe Morgan was a very special type of a ball player. I hope all is well, guys, and I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon.
Robinhood believes now is the time to do money without the commission fees, so you can start investing today, wherever you are, even hanging with your dog. So, what are you waiting for? Download now and get your first stock on us. Robinhood.
That are looking at cap considerations now, knowing the cap is going to be lower next year.
They love. That was the end of that interview, actually. We'll find out because I think that they're going to give him one more cup of coffee, and he got to show us something. Really appreciate you, Jessica. DJ, he's lying through his dang on teeth. Yeah. So that's the situation with Jerry Wayne. That doggone guy, he's a business salesman, and he will tell you the moon is made of cheese, right? And all you got to do, you can buy it, you can. For 25 years. So talk to me when Wentz win a playoff game, at least put up 30 plus. This is from Jay. Well, the way, and I know, Jay, you talking about somebody that's in the chat box, man. Wentz apologies is out there. Look, Wentz didn't outperform Ben DiNucci. He didn't outperform him. You know, he got 2 touchdowns or what have you, and they was put in a situation where, yeah, they got those touchdowns. That's what you want your 5-year quarterback to do. But I would say this right here. If the Cowboys were properly planning things and better planned out and mapped out things, then basically we would have won that game. You know, there are other quarterbacks in the NFL or out there in the NFL that they're trying to win. If the operation is trying to win, then you will go out there and make those movements to happen. Now, you know, there's the political arena, and it's hard to really bring in somebody that this particular team is not all the way sold in on, you know, because even if you look at it and say, okay, I'm going to bring in Colin Kaepernick, right, you know, of the worlds, I already know that you will hear a third of the segment of a population of people thinking, sitting there saying, hey, I don't want that distraction, man. I don't want that on my team, or I don't want this on the team. But I can guarantee you my bottom dollar, he's better than a Gilbert Garrett, and he's better than Cooper Rush, and he's better than a Ben DiNucci. But we got politics in this situation. That's just how it goes. So that's just how it is. I can pull up the last tape of the kid, and we will see that it's a whole lot better than what we witnessing out there on the field. But since we got things to uphold as it relates to politics and political prowess and things like that, that we would rather fall on the sword and we would rather get the L because that goes down smoother, right? Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm lying. Shout out to the mods, man. Big Loaf, what's up? We really appreciate you. William Anthony.
Back. Talking Justin Turner news. You know, Major League Baseball did do an investigation, and well, you know, if you're interested to know what they concluded, you know, that they're not going to do anything to Justin Turner. You know, I'm more amazed no one investigated the Dodgers or Major League Baseball. How was he even allowed to play that game since he initially didn't test negative either? And then think about this. Once the test came back, he was yanked. Why was the game stopped right there and then? You see the NFL cracking down on players, right, who come anywhere close to someone who was positive in the facilities, they shut down. The Dodgers players were exposed the whole game, right? You could make the argument that they were exposed the whole game. And then there was a conclusive test they played on exposing the Rays players and umpires. What in the world were they thinking? Oh yeah, let's get the season done. Let's call it, let's get the season done, and we'll call it a success. So that's Justin Turner news. Former Met. But just jumping back to the Mets, one of the players, one of the people that will stay on with the Mets, at least for now, is Rojas. And listen, I'm okay with that. In the sense of this was a 62-game season, COVID era season. And I think we could agree that we really don't know what he is at this point. It's just a small sample of a 62-game season. So you really don't know what the coach is. He's been in the organization for quite some time. So he's seen these players from their roots, from their beginnings. So I think that's the that would be the fair choice in keeping Rojas on board. So Rojas will be coming back with the Mets. As we're going on, just looking into to baseball, and that's Francisco Lindor. The Indians are saying that they will trade Francisco Lindor. And and I thought, listen, I thought that the Indians were going to were cutting Hand, Domingo, and Carlos in order to save up money to extend to Lindor. Listen, this just may be a case of the Indians knowing they have to hit restart, or have to hit that restart button on their offense to go with the young talent. Young, talented starting rotation. So there you go with that. Right now it's very quiet on legal end in sports. It's just been a weird weird time in this COVID era. Definitely has been. I think that will do it for this week's episode, or this episode of Ontap. And you have been listening to episode 4. I beg you to hit the like button. It would mean a lot. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. I hope all is well, guys. Mahalo. Cheers. Please do hit the subscribe button. Hope all is well. Ciao.